you guys about two weeks ago or
Mhm.
so dropped this long Twitter thread. I when I read it, I thought a lot of it was very interesting. I thought I'm someone who is very anti-conspiracy minded. I think most conspiracies are bullshit. People are just, oh, I don't trust the government. Blah blah. So there's some parts of that. There were some parts of that
Well,
where I was like, I don't know. This
write it
this
in
is
a way that was like,
this
these
is
are
a
all
lot.
possibilities. Because, like,
But
I'm not going to sit here and say that any of those pieces, oh, I mean, now one of those pieces did come true, but
yeah. So what can you kind of start from the beginning? Tell us what and sort of just tell us how you came to all these insights about the Coliseum land, about Nate Miley, about the roots, about Town FC, and also, like, stuff has changed in the last 2 weeks. How's that changed what you think? So in case people haven't read this monster long Twitter thread, tell us what you've sort of uncovered.
so yeah, a few weeks ago we started getting some people telling us stories, and I'm not going to say who they were, but yeah, two individuals in particular started giving us some ideas of what was going on with Nate Miley, that he had been blocking the vote for the Raiders practice facility, which seemed weird. I mean, the county needs money, so why would they block this team, the Roots, who is a beloved team, to not buy this piece of land? So we started looking into that. We started
Nate
hearing
Miley is the county
he's on the county
Oh,
board. Yeah,
he's Alabama County Supervisor. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
w-
supervisor.
just reelected. So
That was really one of the things that like started this whole search because we kind of went down some some conspiracy theory rabbit holes for sure. And but in doing that, like we started realizing that basically there were two groups that were really involved in trying to buy that piece of land. One of them being the Prologis, I think it's the name, and that is the group that the Roots would be leasing the land from or utilizing the land from, working hand in hand with them. And then there was this other group, the Steam Factory Oakland, and we started looking them up, and it was like, what is this group? How are they trying to buy a $26 million piece of land, and what for? And their only thing was like, oh, we're trying to do STEM roots, like STEM education for kids. And it was like, how do you have 25 million to do this? So we looked further into the company. We ended up
And
finding,
wait, you're talking no, we're not talking about the Coliseum. We're talking about
oh,
the Raiders, the old Raiders practice facility, which the Roots currently use as a practice
In
facility.
Alameda. Yeah, in
The city
Alameda.
hopes that when the World Cup comes to Santa Clara, that they'll be able to host a World Cup team based out of there. Okay, 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 okay.
It's in Alameda though. It's not in Oakland, so it's like a county thing, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's right next to
Right
the
by the airport.
Yeah, exactly. So we started looking into this Steam Factory Oakland company and realized it was this one guy who there's only one guy. They did it in Las Vegas. They what do you call it? Incorporated in Las Vegas. So in Las Vegas, you don't have to, and people do that to incorporate in Las Vegas so that they don't have to reveal who the actual owners of the company are. They only need to say who the director of the company is. So we had one name, this guy Anthony Heilig. Seems like a very nice guy. I actually don't even know if he has any knowledge of what he's gotten into. He did do STEAM or STEM programs in Oakland to get youth into STEM education. Seems like a really stand-up dude. But it was weird because his company, eCubus, I think was the name of it, his old group that worked with kids, and that company, was a small company. They did a few things here and there, but they were never $25 million rich to be able to like buy this huge practice facility. So it seemed a little strange, and it definitely seemed like this seems a little shell company-ish. And that's
also,
where this conspiracies definitely start.
it's also interesting to note that the day that Steam Factory Oakland was registered in Nevada through LegalZoom was the exact same day that SB Bill SB1 in Nevada was signed into law by Joe Lombardo. So it was the exact same day.
No, there's a little. I mean,
Yeah,
John.
so it's
So is this like
sort
a
of
John?
strange. Coincidence timing?
We
And
flashed back to having this conversation with Fisher at the owners' meetings, where Jorge had brought up, "Hey, Fisher, I know that you were touring that facility, that Raiders facility. What was up with that?" And deer in headlights moment for him, kind of was like, "Oh, yeah, it's great." And then he went into the whole facility and didn't really talk too much about like why he was there, but he admitted to being there, to having been there and touring the facility, which was always a weird thing to me. I was like, I actually never even asked Jorge about that and wondered why this baseball owner has any interest in a Raiders facility when he's moving the team to Vegas.
well, it sounds like like the Town FC and the Roots. It seemed like they were kind of competing. It seems like the Roots really get the upper hand here, that they're going to have the big platform of the Major League Stadium. But is this kind of like an L? Like, did John Fisher take an L? Like the fact that the Town FC kind of gets kicked aside here, because clearly there were some sort of connections, right? Like between the Town FC and John Fisher as well, right?
That was our weird thing, was trying to figure out, because that was actually the hardest part, was figuring out like, well, what does the Town FC have to do with John Fisher? Because there was like an article about Town FC hosting Quakes 2 for a tournament or two or something like that. So we knew there was some connection, some type of like communication between the two groups, but we didn't know. We weren't sure, if that part was actually going to happen. And sure enough, that is the only thing that we know that is true. Because this last week, the Town FC came out and said that they are now the minor league team for the Quakes, and therefore Town FC is owned by John Fisher now. So it's directly tying him to trying to start or establish a soccer team in Oakland to try to compete with the Roots, which is really shady because the Roots are for sure a beloved team in Oakland. Town FC, the guy who started Town FC, was part of the Roots, and he had a not so happy exit from the team. We've also heard that he actually has been kicked off of 2 other teams as well in the past, so he doesn't have a great record. And anyway, so it seems to me like it's a bitter move on his part. Like he really wants to get back at the Roots. He wants to, impede on their progress in Oakland and the Town FC.
So do you think he was trying to get that practice facility for maybe Bay FC and the Town FC? Like, because there even
that's
seems like the two
probably
brands are kind of aligned almost, the Town and the Bay. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest connection in finding, and that's where we spent a lot of our time seeing if there was any connection between John Fisher. That's where the line sort of breaks as far as solid proof. But there are things, and the connection might be is there are things that John Fisher is involved in supporting it's STEM organizations where he's on the board, and the connection would be it's very similar wording to some of the curriculum that Anthony Heilig of Steam Factory Oakland has put in his curriculum. So that's the loose connection. That's where you start stretching.
It's a lot of fun.
But it's something.
I am very anti-conspiracy as most
But
of the
also
time.
the Nate Miley, John Fisher connect. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, the Nate Miley, John Fisher connection. There's like a paper trail though, right? Like the A's have definitely like.
I mean, they've paid Nate Miley off in the past. For sure.
And Athletic John Fisher has paid him off. So, or it's contributed to his campaign. So,
Right.
in the tune of like $10,000-$15,000.
But he can do that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what hopefully has been clear too is that your thread really sort of galvanized a lot of people to get thinking about this, to really start thinking about how can we let people know that we're about this. At the same time, I'd been sort of kicking around with the last dive bar guys, putting together this like email campaign. Like sometimes I'll be on on Twitter, and I'll see, people who want to get more bike lanes or something like that. They'll say, "Oh, sign up," and we'll all send the city councilman 30 emails to say, "Hey, do this," right? Because it's really hard to get people to call into meetings. It's really hard to get people to pick up the phone and call, and it's only these like, lunatics who have nothing better to do who go to these public meetings. So, I was like, well, okay, you guys just dropped this.
These conspiracy theories. I was gonna be like,
right, yeah, and then they go and spit those conspiracy theories. So, we've been kicking around this. I figured out a website to do it, and I think off the back of that thread, I put that out there, and we we ended up sending each person on each supervisor and every person in Nate Miley's office and everyone at the city council. They each got 2,000 emails from 2,000 different people. So obviously on Outlook you just said a thing to send these all to trash, but it tells them that, hey, people are paying attention. People are paying attention in a level of government that oftentimes people aren't paying attention. There's not always that people are really plugged into the Alameda supervisors' decisions. So I think, and even bigger than that, all these things that have been happening with the fan organizations, with the reverse boycott, with the coming up boycott, with the fan fest that the Last Dive Bar and the 68s, poured their blood, sweat, and tears into, that really gets politicians realizing, oh, this is a constituency.